The story begins with a gamer putting his hands on the keyboard and calling the game trash, recalling that this word was also used to describe games with an absurd level of difficulty. The virtual reality game Tower of Trials exactly matched this description. When the game was released, hardcore gamers who took joy in trolling game developers all took a shot at conquering this game. They played for 365 days a year. However, after 3 years, people realized that Tower of Trials was an unbeatable game. A practically invincible gate guardian, polar regions where the temperature is minus 60 degrees Celsius and people freeze to death in less than an hour, and a labyrinth that spans over 10,000 kilometers. This game wasn't intended for fun, it was designed to torture the people who play it. Not long after, people stopped playing it and the game crashed. To be exact, it almost crashed. There were still a few hardcore gamers who stuck around despite how ridiculously hard it was. Our boy Jinhook was breathing heavily and sweat was running down his face. The 50th floor had been captured and the system congratulated the first one who cleared the trial tower. The young man pressed his hand to the wound, not believing that this was true. Recalling that he found a sense of accomplishment in finding original ways to clear the tower, and repeating the stages over and over again until he memorized every aspect. It was fun enough that he dedicated 11 years of his life playing it, but who knew that he's actually cleared the last floor? As he was contemplating whether he should have streamed it or uploaded it onto YouTube, a system notification popped up, thanking him for playing the game, while another notification informed him that a restart update was scheduled in 12 hours and asked him to continue enjoying the game after the update. He didn't expect to see an update after the game went bankrupt, wondering if they had discovered an oil field in the desert or something. He comments that it makes no sense, this game is bringing in zero profit. All he can do now is wait and see what happens next. Whether they reboot it or not, he was already planning on quitting his job as a streamer and a YouTuber today. He does not have a family to support, but he's already 27 years old, and he can't continue to live off 500,000 won a month forever. He remembers people telling him that he was good enough to become a professional fighter, but making money is more important than playing sports right now. The moon rose over the protagonist's house. The guy was smiling, reading the comments in the chat, but suddenly his face darkened. Then he announced to his subscribers that he wanted to tell them something. Jinhook opened his mouth to start talking, but panic began in the chat. So the young man lied with a smile, saying that he was just creating an atmosphere. He took a sip from the can, deciding that tomorrow he should officially announce that he was winding up this business. Meanwhile, the room was getting dark. Empty soda bottles remained on the table. Our boy lay in bed, completely exhausted. Groaning, he clutched his head. He remembered that he still had to upload the video of him clearing the Tower of Trials. With a sigh, he pushed himself up, turned on his PC, and got to work. His attention was caught by a live stream. The headline flashed across the screen. The Tower of Trials appears in real life. He clicked the link to the live stream, and the chat was quickly filled with confusion. Viewers were in a frenzy, unsure if what they were seeing was real. The protagonist instantly recognized it as the opening sequence of the Tower of Trials. Suddenly, the system notification popped up in real life, shocking him. The system notified him that the Tower of Trials had rebooted and the first update was complete, and that all players must clear every floor of the tower within 90 days. The system warned that if they failed, humanity itself would perish, facing unimaginable consequences. Harboy muttered to himself that he needed to keep his cool. If the Tower of Trials had appeared in real life, there was no time to waste. He shouldn't be here, wasting time like this. He dashed forward, urgency in his every step. He had to hurry. He needed to reach the location of that item before it was too late. The world could be on the brink of collapse, yet for some reason, this twisted dude was grinning with excitement. In Central City, the streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of a crowded city. People were in a frenzy, scrambling to catch the earliest bus out of the city. Others were shouting that the only way to survive was to leave the entire country. However, a girl quickly shot down their hopes, pointing out that there was no point in running. The same damn tower had appeared all over the world. Nowhere was safe. Meanwhile, our protagonist kept pushing forward, ignoring the chaos of the crowd around him. A few minutes later, he reached the entrance to an underground tunnel. He paused for a brief moment, muttering to himself that now was the time to step up, not run away. On the Korean server, this area was classified as one of the external regions. There were a total of 30 scattered throughout the country, and fortunately, this one was the closest to him. Soon he reached his destination, and the system gave him a notification, confirming he had entered an event area. He wasn't alone, other people were already there. He observed the crowd around him, noting to himself that everyone here had at least made it to the beginning of the Tower of Trials. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind, asking if he was Jinhyuk. The voice teased that it was no surprise to see Jinhyuk here. He'd always been the type to stay holed up in his room, playing this game non-stop. The voice belonged to Lee Jong-soo, an arrogant streamer and YouTuber with over 500,000 subscribers. He was one of those so-called successful stars that everyone seemed to admire. At the same time, Jong-soo was also the representative of the company Jinhyuk worked for. He casually asked if he shouldn't be streaming instead. Jong-soo scoffed, brushing off the comment. How could he possibly stream in these circumstances? With a sly grin, Jong-soo shifted the conversation, asking almost mockingly, what floor Jinhyuk had reached. He teased that, since Jinhyuk played the game like a maniac, there was no reason to keep secrets from a colleague. Our boy's expression darkened at the mention of colleague. He explained that this bastard had tricked streamers into signing unfair contracts. The more they streamed, the deeper they sank into debt. Their protests were snuffed out by the company's law firm. In the end, all the colleagues he had been close with, those who had started from nothing alongside him, left the company one by one. Shamelessly, Jongsu offered, saying if Jinhyuk helped him out, he'd offer better terms on his contract. Our boy wasted no time delivering a sharp headbutt to Jongsu's mouth. He was done with the man's arrogance, sick of being treated like he was owned. He muttered to himself that it felt good, but there was no time to waste on someone like him. Suddenly, a fountain sprang to life, water pouring out in a steady stream. The water in the fountain began to bubble as if something beneath the surface was stirring. Without warning, a massive explosion erupted from beneath the water, sending waves crashing in all directions and shaking the ground. From the chaos, a massive tree suddenly emerged, towering right in the center of the station. Jinhyuk couldn't help but think to himself that it was exactly like the Tower of Trials. His memory had been spot on. Each of the ripe, tempting fruits hanging from the tree was more than just eye-catching. Eating one would boost a player's stats, strength, agility, stamina, and even magic. It was definitely a valuable item, but there were only 4 fruits in total. Knowing how valuable the fruits were, the others began to prepare themselves, their intentions clear. Things were about to get nasty. In an instant, the greedy bastards charged, scrambling up the tree like a swarm of insects, each of them desperate to get their hands on one of the precious fruits. They shoved and yanked at each other, pulling hair and anything else they could grab. Jongsu chimed in, suggesting that if they'd just work together and split the fruit in half, it could have been a win-win situation. Jinhyuk shot him a cold look, telling him bluntly to stay out of it if he didn't know anything. With a menacing look, Jinhyuk muttered that it wasn't time yet, his focus sharpening as he prepared for what was coming. Despite the chaos, people continued to shove and scramble, all eager to reach the top of the tree. Some of them had already reached the fruits, their hands grabbing eagerly as others hurried to catch up. Biting into the fruit instantly boosted their agility by 3 points, making them faster and more precise. They could feel the surge of energy right away. Our hero observes that most people aren't even aware this fruit exists, and those who have played the game a few times tend to focus solely on eating it. With a smirk, he adds that hardcore gamers enjoy the more perverted, sadistic process that follows. Upon finishing his thought, a tree's vines suddenly sway wildly, whipping and lashing out at everyone nearby. Others panic, realizing that after all the fruit is consumed, the situation becomes dangerous. They shout and scramble to escape, haunted by memories of the times they had fallen here before. Meanwhile, our hero sits there calmly, almost unfazed by the chaos around him. He turns to Jongsu, questioning if he has already given up. Jongsu replies that he refuses to die here for no reason. The main character comments that it's a pity, as the real reward for the event can only be earned once all the fruit is consumed. Jongsu asks in disbelief if he's being serious. The main character responds that if he weren't serious, he wouldn't still be there. Jongsu mutters that he had been wondering why the main character wasn't going for the fruit. Now he understands why. Jongsu notices the opportunity and thinks that something definitely smells sweet. Jongsu admits that if the main character is telling the truth, he wants to know what their next move should be. The main character replies that they need to get closer. He explains that if they move one by one, they'll become easy targets, so they need to approach from opposite sides simultaneously. Jongsu asks if he should distract it, and Jinhyuk agrees. They crouch and prepare, with our hero warning that hesitation means it's over. Jongsu reassures that he has played this game before too. They charge together toward the tree, moving in sync to execute their plan. The tree senses their movement and begins to rumble, whipping its vines everywhere. The main character skillfully dodges the whips and quickly questions where Jongsu is. At the same time, the bastard yells that he's an idiot and questions if Jinhyuk really believed he would listen. He sneers and says that he's going to use him as bait. Our hero smirks, relieved that Jongsu's personality hasn't changed one bit. He continues dodging and comments to himself that Jongsu is the real bait. At that instant, a vine swooshes in Jongsu's direction. With no time to think, he prepares to react, but it's too late as the vines quickly wrap around his body. The vines tighten, causing his bones to crack and snap. He desperately looks at our boy. With a terrified expression, he begs for help, but our cold-hearted MC just grins and questions why he should help. He adds that if he has a problem, he can sue him through his hotshot lawyers. Jongsu starts crying and says he doesn't want to die like this. He is quickly cut off as immense pain hits him and he is fully engulfed by the vines. This dude is dead for sure. Our boy pays him no attention as he refocuses on the tree. He has fully memorized the attack patterns down to the detail. He comments to himself that dodging branches isn't that hard, it's all about timing. The tree roars in anger but still misses every hit on the main character. Finally, Jinhyuk reaches the heart of the mangrove as it reveals itself. Everything is unfolding just as he experienced in the game. The only difficult part remaining is tricking it into attacking itself, so he picks up a branch. He faces the tree and suggests they stop wasting energy, offering to take its heart peacefully. He adds that the mangrove is just an event mob, so he won't even earn any XP At best, he'll just get a spot in the Hall of Fame. Suddenly, the mangrove activates the blood-sucking vine skill and launches an attack toward our boy. No matter how seasoned he is, even he can't dodge all those branches. So he decides to block the attack instead, and skillfully redirects the trajectory of the vines using their force against the mangrove itself. The mangrove groans in anger, bracing itself for its next deadly strike. In an instant, it morphs into the shape of a spike and whooshes toward him, aiming for a direct hit. The MC calmly thinks there's no need to lose his nerves now and no reason to be afraid, because he's already experienced this part countless times in the game. He maneuvers skillfully, narrowly dodging the relentless barrage of vines. He exclaims that he's almost there. A swarm of sleep butterflies erupts from the tree, filling the air around it. The MC warns himself, recalling that the sleeping powder from these monsters can knock out anyone who isn't prepared for it. So he quickly holds his breath to avoid inhaling the dangerous powder. He charges directly toward the core of the tree despite the surrounding threats. Our boy delivers a decisive blow, and the tree's core erupts with a brilliant burst of light from the impact, then quickly covers the source of the light, ensuring that the explosion is contained within the tree, preventing any external damage. The tree roars in pain as the internal explosion erupts, shaking its very core from within. The tree's roar fades into silence and its leaves slowly wither and fall, signaling its death. A window notification pops up, informing him that he is the first to defeat the mangrove greed tree. The tree slowly splits down the middle, and the hero sighs in relief. He realizes the usefulness of his time studying attack patterns and feels grateful for his past experiences. A window notification pops up, informing him that his achievement will be recorded in the Hall of Fame tomorrow for one day. It asks him to state his name. He notes that the stupid system demands personal information for listing in the Hall of Fame. He refuses to provide his personal information. He explains that revealing his identity as a seasoned player would attract unwanted attention. He chooses the name Unknown, and the system informs him that his face will be blurred. He digs his hand into the tree and rummages, and extracts a small emerald orb. He clenches his fist. The system informs him that he obtained the tree essence. He explains that each fruit raises one stat out of strength, ability, and magic by 3 points. Meanwhile, the tree essence provides at least 12 bonus stats. He adds that 3 points per level equates to basically 4 level ups. Our hero then explains that no other item provides such good value for the effort, even after clearing all 50 floors. Without wasting time, he throws the orb into his mouth and gulps it. A shiny green light begins to emit from his body. A notification appears, confirming that he has 12 stat points available for allocation. He notes with satisfaction that he is now the strongest level 1 player possible. An hour later, articles begin appearing about the defeat of the Mangrove of Greed. Comments flood in, with players expressing disbelief that the monster could actually be defeated. Soon after the video is uploaded, all doubtful responses disappear, and wealthy individuals started to make offers of 1 billion won for him to share information. Our boy leans back and remarks that defeating the Mangrove of Greed at level 1 is difficult, but not something to be that surprised about. He reasons that it makes sense since most players never reach the mid to late stages of the game, and admits he shouldn't judge by his own standards. He recalls starving for days just to afford food for his eating challenge videos. He notes that if he had received a 1 billion won offer yesterday, he would have accepted immediately. But now things have changed. He refuses to reveal what he knows for 1 billion or even 10 billion won. He considers information monopoly to be the most important priority now. He takes his phone and begins planning his next destination. The tower appears, and he recalls that while he was playing, mana from the tower trials spread across all districts of Seoul. Although it hadn't caused major effects, there were some artifacts outside of the tower that later became relics. He knows that those relics are not real, of course. He explains that legendary relics with powers are inside the tower, while the ones outside are replicas or copied versions. The MC is later seen at the National Museum of Korea. The museum contains countless artifacts, making it a treasure chest, but he won't be only one searching for replicas. Unlike the Mangrove of Greed, which appeared in 7 locations around Seoul, there is only one National Museum of Korea, likely drawing people from across the country in search of relics, and those people will definitely be seasoned players. He pushes the door open and notes that it is quieter than expected, thinking that no one is there yet. He is immediately shocked by the scene before him. As expected, others arrive before him, with some already dead and signs of a battle visible. Jin-hyuk looks straight ahead seriously. Because times have changed, he thought others would adapt, but the gap between expectation and reality is much larger than he imagined. After just one day, people have become too reckless. Looking at the staircase leading up to the floor ahead, he remained deep in thought. What they are aiming for must be the artifacts stored in this area. The medieval artifacts that everyone comes here to obtain. A vast map filled with symbols of the Eastern land's great cities. Of course, no one wants this map just because it's a map of Korea, but since it contains information about the Tower of Trials, it tells you where the labyrinths and ruins are located and what items and monsters can be found there. It only reaches up to the 10th floor, but that's enough to set people's hearts ablaze. However, no one knows that the most important relics are hidden in the mud. A commotion breaks out as a vase is dropped. We see then people scrambling and fighting violently over the scattered artifacts, until someone shouts loudly for everyone to freeze. The fighting stops as everyone turns toward the shouting man. The enormous man looms over the crowd and declares he'll execute anyone who dares to move. Some in a crowd remain defiant, lifting objects and preparing for a fight against the large man, while another declares that no one is intimidated by the threats. The man threatens to retaliate violently if the large man makes any move. The large man bumps his fists together, signaling that he's done talking. He tears off his shirt, revealing arms covered in stone armor. A girl observes that he's already obtained a unique ability, while another man acknowledges the danger. The brute claims ownership of the map and orders everyone to step aside. An old man steps forward and declares he cannot agree with the large man's claim. Hearing this, the brute questions if the elder has gone senile. Then he threatens to break his neck with ease. However, the senior remains composed while criticizing the other's crude speech. In a change of tone, he challenges whether the large man can act faster than he can retaliate. Snapping his fingers, the old man ignites a small fireball on his fingertip. The brute recoils in surprise at the display of magic, as he didn't anticipate others already harnessing magical energy. The elder casually tosses the fireball toward the giant, inviting him to catch it. The instant the fireball touches him, he gets engulfed in a whirlwind of fire and screams in agony. Moments later, he is reduced to a large lump of coal and collapses. Grandpa walks past him and declares his tongue was his ruin. The girl behind the old man remarks that fire magic is impressive and expresses relief at being on his side. The old man asks if Miss Yuri secured the items and instructs her to wrap things up if so. The girl smiles and confidently says she'll handle it. She grabs a small statue of Anubis and declares it's all she needs. She activates her skill and a burst of purple energy flows into the small statue. She declares that the statue will take care of anyone who gets in their way. The statue becomes enormous and holds its weapon menacingly. She declares that anyone who moves from now on will be considered an enemy, and warns they'll be devoured starting with their head. With an innocent smile, she asks everyone to play nice. The others grow flustered, sweat running down their faces as they wonder why so many experienced players have already awakened their powers. They hesitantly surrender, throwing down their weapons and declaring they'll pass on the map and everything else. With a charming smile, she claps her hands together while thanking them. Her expression darkens as she hears someone walking around, seemingly oblivious to the chaos. And of course, it's our protagonist who walks through the wreckage, glancing around casually. He calmly comments that they've made a mess of the place. He questions whether they have any respect for historical artifacts, then pauses as he notices the map on the floor. Our boy remarks that the map is thankfully still intact and brushes the dust off it. The girl calls out to the protagonist, who turns to face her with an annoyed expression. The girl asks if it looks like she's joking, as she calls for her giant statue. With a menacing look, commands her giant statue to attack the protagonist. The giant statue raises its weapon and prepares to strike the protagonist. The statue hurls its weapon directly toward our MC. Our protagonist stands unfazed, cool as hell, casually observing the charging statue. Without even removing his hand from his pocket, he effortlessly smacks down the incoming weapon like it's nothing. The girl is flabbergasted, her eyes widening in shock. Our boy stands there cool as ever while murmurs erupt among the crowd, questioning how he deflected the spear. People whisper in disbelief, wondering how he deflected the attack without dodging and keeping his hand unharmed. Jinhyuk muses that their shocked reactions make sense, since they don't know his true capabilities. He glances at the girl and taunts her about her statue being defenseless now that its weapon is gone. She flinches before rummaging through her backpack and defiantly claiming she has more statues. She pulls out 4 more statues and activates the same skill as before. Our protagonist remains utterly unimpressed as he waits for her next move. The girl declares this will finally wipe the smirk off his face. He acknowledges her skill, noting that controlling 5 statues simultaneously proves she's no ordinary player. He reflects that the same applies to the magic-wielding elder and the armored brute, realizing there are more skilled players than he anticipated. Seeing that our hero remains unshaken, she grumbles angrily under her breath. Our MC calmly states that it's time to show her a proper demonstration of what he's truly capable of. He muses that skill gaps become unnoticeable when too vast and decides it's time to prove it. He tosses an artifact forward. He places his hand on the artifact, activating it. Seconds later, a massive tiger materializes behind him in a powerful summoning display. The summoned tiger's thunderous roar makes the girl recoil, realizing she may have underestimated him. The tiger strides forward with a majestic aura, its stats displayed in a glowing notification. The statues snarl aggressively, directing their hostility toward the newly summoned tiger. Our protagonist strokes the tiger's neck while mocking the statues for challenging the true king of beasts. With a commanding tone, he orders the tiger to unleash its fury and attack. The tiger instantly bares its fangs with a vicious snarl poised to strike. The tiger's claws slash through the air with such speed they generate slicing wind currents. The tiger's claw connects with the statue, instantly decapitating it. The remaining statues charge forward in a desperate attempt to retaliate. However, the tiger's savage slashes send severed statue limbs flying through the air in all directions. The girl stands in utter shock, unable to comprehend the tiger's overwhelming power. She trembles in despair, realizing she's the last target as the tiger closes in. The tiger looms menacingly over her, its bloodlust making her realize defeat is inevitable. She collapses to her knees, bewildered by how her unbeatable strategy was shattered by this mysterious opponent. Our protagonist pauses over her, demanding she give it to him. What a pervert. The defeated girl responds with trembling confusion, questioning his unexpected demand. Our boy crouches down and coldly demands she hand over Tutankhamun's mask. The girl snaps back, arguing the mask holds no value in Korea and questioning his intentions. He stares at her with an impassive expression, gesturing for the tiger to advance. The terrified girl immediately surrenders as the tiger's snarling fangs loom inches from her face. The defeated girl reluctantly hands over the mask, and a glowing notification confirms its acquisition. Our protagonist raises the mask triumphantly, celebrating the acquisition of his second crucial relic. The girl looks up with confusion, questioning if he's also pursuing the legendary Great Map. He dismisses her question with cold indifference, telling her that it is none of her business. While stroking the tiger's head, he commands it to stand guard and prevent any pursuers. The tiger obeys instantly, unleashing its bloodthirsty aura as a warning to everyone. With an eager yet chilling grin, he declares it's finally time to claim the tower's most legendary skill. The scene transitions to reveal a chamber overflowing with ancient relics and mystical artifacts. The old man frowns in thought, growing impatient as he waits for Yuri's expected return. Our protagonist appears beside him, silently observing the chamber. The old man breaks into a cold sweat, bewildered by the stranger's sudden appearance past their defenses. A shimmering blue barrier pulsates with energy, protecting the chamber's precious contents. Our protagonist recognizes the barrier's low-grade quality with casual expertise. The old man raises an eyebrow, intrigued by the intruder's unexpected knowledge. The old man cautiously touches the barrier, triggering faint sparks as he admits he's never encountered such a barrier. The old man shakes his hand, lamenting the barrier's immunity to both physical and magical assaults. Without hesitation, Jinhik places his hand on the barrier, causing it to crackle and spark ominously. He notes that the barrier's magic flow is distorted at a specific point. The protagonist declares he can deactivate the barrier, but reveals there's a catch. The old man narrows his eyes suspiciously, demanding clarification about this unexpected condition. Our boy explains that maintaining constant flame magic is required to weaken the barrier's defenses. The old man presses for details, wanting to know the duration of this exhausting task. Our hero casually states it will take however long he needs to gather the relics inside. The elderly man scowls in disbelief, clarifying that he must remain outside maintaining the spell while the protagonist goes inside the chamber. Our MC admits he lacks the powerful offensive spells needed to weaken the barrier. He acknowledges the difficulty but insists this is the only viable method. He notes the approaching dawn, emphasizing the urgency of their mission. Angie offers the map to the old man, revealing there's something else inside he personally needs. The old man grimaces, agreeing that leaving empty-handed would be the most unacceptable result. The elderly man hesitates, seeking assurance that the promised map will truly be handed over. Our protagonist reassures him with a respectful nod, acknowledging the old man's formidable magical prowess. The elderly man reluctantly concludes he has no alternative but to place his trust in the protagonist. Jinheg places his hand on the barrier again while urging the old man to fulfill his role. The elderly man summons a fireball, determination etched on his face as he prepares to fulfill his task. The old man unleashes his fire magic against the barrier, generating intense steam that forces our protagonist to shield himself. The relentless fire magic causes the barrier to weaken and crack under the sustained assault. Seizing the moment, our boy slips through the weakened barrier and enters the chamber beyond. The elderly man grunts in exertion while urging our hero to move quickly before his strength gives out. The protagonist acknowledges with a wave, signaling his understanding of the urgency. Stepping into the chamber, he observes that unlike the lower floors, this area appears untouched by previous explorers. Except for the engraved iron sword of Qianlong, which is conspicuously absent from its place. Our protagonist deduces that a certain man must have already retrieved the sword and established the protective barrier. He silently reflects that the man chose to stealthily claim his prize while others were distracted, maintaining his usual cautious approach. Arabic muses that even the cautious thief did not know and overlooks certain relics as he sifts through the remaining artifacts. He celebrates silently, having finally discovered the Sangpayon Tongbo, an ancient necklace crafted from coins, the relic he sought. He sees the artifact as the final puzzle piece required to complete its ultimate technique, having already acquired the Persian ritual mold and Tutankhamun's mask. Without hesitation, our protagonist begins merging the relics to unlock their potential. The relics begin reacting, their compatibility confirmed by the sudden energy surge. The system prompts the user to provide the required payment to continue the fusion process. The Sangpyeon Tongbo's coins scatter and seamlessly integrate themselves with the existing relics. A powerful magical surge erupts as the three relics react together in harmony. Then a system notification confirms that the relics have been successfully merged despite the challenges. A new relic materializes, the Eye of Truth, instantly recognized as an S-tier item. The Eye of Truth grants the wielder the ability to discern truth from lies and view other players' details 3 times daily. Our MC reflects that the Eye of Truth is the most powerful among the legendary Five Eyes, but hints at another purpose for his museum visit. The system chimes, confirming that all necessary conditions have been fulfilled. Another system message informs him that he has acquired the unique ability Fusion. With this broken ability, he can copy and save the countless skills this world has to offer, then combine them to create even more powerful skills. This OP skill will allow him to become the strongest in the Tower of Trials. However, he explained that to copy others' skills, he must first complete special quests with exceedingly difficult conditions, some of which may later be adjusted. At that moment, the old man shouts from outside, urging him to hurry and come out. Our MC swiftly activates his newly acquired ability, attempting to copy the old man's fire magic. The system notifies him that to copy the skill, he must first make the old man reveal his true emotions. He grins mischievously, realizing that all he needs to do is provoke the old man. The elder man shouts once more, demanding that he hurry up. Our hero calmly tells the old man to stop using his skill. The old man frowns, clearly puzzled by the sudden remark. Our boy remarks that in truth, the skill was unnecessary from the start. The old man huffs and ceases his magic, questioning why he was told to use it in the first place. He reveals that all he needed was the password to deactivate the barrier. He initially breaks through the barrier using a Latin deactivation spell without the old man's did nothing to disable the barrier. Our boy thinks that the old man must have wasted his mana attacking an impenetrable barrier, likely leaving him nearly drained. Having taken precautions, his next move is to deliberately piss the old man off. He notes that already knowing the tower intimately, the map showing details up to the 10th floor is completely useless to him. But he decides not to give it away anyway, smirking as he flicks a lighter to life. The old man frowns and demands what exactly he is doing. Our boy replies with a smirk, reminding him that he already stated he doesn't need the map. He sets the map ablaze, knowing that if it fell into the wrong hands, anyone could learn everything up to the 10th floor and compromise his advantage. The old man yells in panic, sweat streaming down his face. He screams angrily, demanding why the map is being burned and threatening to tear him apart. With that, the conditions are met, and the protagonist fixes him with a menacing glare. He successfully copies the old man's skill, Element of Fire. He thinks to himself that it's a decent start for his first copied skill. The old man conjures a fireball, threatening that he will make him pay for this. Our boy remarks that the old man is misunderstanding, asking if he doesn't know the reason he burned the map. Our boy conjures an even more powerful fire spell, leaving the old man aghast. The old man notes that while it is the same skill, the gap between their powers is like night and day. He confirms to himself that this is no ordinary person, as someone like him wouldn't even need the map, and he asks our boy directly who he is. Our MC tells the old man that if he wants to climb the tower with ease, he must listen carefully. The scene then shifts to our boy leaving the museum. He thinks to himself that only 4 former high rankers had visited the museum, including him. Now that the Tower of Trials has become a reality, he understands the desire to minimize risks. He resolves that he needs to acquire as many skills and unique abilities as possible. Our MC recalls the conversation with the old man from a few minutes ago where he told him to go level up with the girl downstairs while waiting to be contacted later. He thinks to himself that he's gathered some pawns he can command at will, but he knows there's still a long way to go and that he needs to prioritize collecting the abilities he truly needs. He reminds himself that he's only one person, and he can't hog all the opportunities for himself. However, he knows that the most valuable and important opportunities are surely his for the taking. His stomach rumbles in hunger, and he thinks to himself that he's reached his limit for now. He thinks there's nothing better than a warm bowl of soup at a time like this. As he enters the restaurant, he notices a crowd gathered around the TV, murmuring in shock about something unfolding. The TV reports that an incident at the National Museum of Korea has left at least 23 dead and over 50 injured. The TV continues, stating that due to the severe injuries sustained by many, the death toll is expected to rise. It's suspected that the attackers were targeting the artifacts housed in the museum. The report adds that similar incidents have been occurring not just in Korea, but also in the USA, Europe, China, Japan, and other countries worldwide. Jin-hyuk thinks to himself that just as he suspected, players from other countries are gearing up to ascend the tower. The TV reporter then shows footage of our boy defeating the statues and summoning the massive tiger. The crowd murmurs in disbelief, questioning how anyone could accomplish such feats. Some speculate that he might be the person who appeared on the Tower of Trials Hall of Fame just the other day. Our MC thinks to himself that too many people recognize him now, and he needs to come up with a way to conceal his identity. The TV continues, reporting that the government is investigating the mysterious structure known as the Tower of Trials, and is forming a special department called the Association of the Awakened, which will consist of civil servants who have gained special powers. Our man notes the name Association of the Awakened and remarks that the government is responding faster than he expected. He realizes that with a department already established for those who've awakened unique skills, the government must have quickly accepted this new reality. Surprised, he thinks it would have taken them at least a few weeks to respond. A special guest appears on the broadcast, Han Sanjin, the head of the Association of the Awakened. He announces that he's here to recruit those who have awakened, offering a minimum salary of 60 million won along with benefits, though the exact offer may vary depending on rank. However, he adds that the person on the screen is an exception, and that if they join the association, the government will support them in every possible way. The people watching comment, envious of whoever the person on screen is, with one woman remarking that it's incredible and could completely turn someone's life around. But our boy smiles slightly, noting the man's words about the person in the video being an exception, realizing that he is the one they're after. He scoffs inwardly, thinking that no matter what they offer, he has no intention of joining any organization. He reflects that one highly skilled player is worth more than 100 average ones, and Han Sanjin knows this too, which is why he's offering a blank check to try and win him over. He also notes that as the head of the association, Han Sanjin must possess a powerful skill of his own. He wonders if it's because Han Sanjin played Tower of Trials for a long time, but secretly hopes it's because he possesses a truly powerful skill. That way, he thinks he'll enjoy copying it all the more. He adds that tonight at 7 p.m. when the clock strikes a new hour, the Tower of Trials will open. Later, the scene shifts as a group of people, including our boy, enter the tower. The crowd is buzzing with excitement, marveling that the tower looks exactly like the game, still in disbelief that it's really happening. Our MC smirks, thinking to himself that they all seem like a bunch of noobs. The system informs him that to commemorate his entrance into the tower, he's been provided with 100 coins. Coins are the tower's currency, and players can upload videos of their personal achievements to earn 100 coins for every 10,000 views. However, the fee for uploading videos varies depending on the player's rank. The system also notes that the live broadcast feature can only be used during a battle with the boss before moving on to the next floor. The system warns that any players caught manipulating views or engaging in other misconduct will face appropriate measures. Jinhae nods to himself, acknowledging that this is exactly what he expected. The broadcasting system serves as a bridge between those ascending the tower and regular people outside. Viewers contribute to the view count of players who have a high chance of reaching the top, increasing their exposure. The system is the most entertaining aspect of the Tower of Trials. The more popular a player becomes, the more coins they can earn. People are rushing, discussing their plans to head to the Goblin Cave first, seeing it as the perfect place to farm and make some money. They bump into our protagonist, who thinks to himself that they're all in such a hurry. He reflects that everyone is eager to clear the tower and get ahead, but earning coins should be easy for him since he knows everything about it. However, he has no intention of uploading any videos just yet. He thinks that leaking all his knowledge for a few coins would be a far greater loss than any potential gain. He's already made up his mind. He's taking the road less traveled. He remembers a time when he had just reached the 30th floor of the tower and felt like he couldn't go any further. He recalls scouring the tower floors, searching for hidden pieces he needed to advance to the next level. This often meant retracing his steps, going back over floors he had already cleared. In the end, he found the answer he needed in a hidden ruin. That was when he realized that his character had been flawed from the very beginning. He reflects bitterly that his time spent searching the lower floors was wasted, as the character he had spent years developing turned out to be flawed from the start. As a result, he had no choice but to delete his character and start over from scratch. He vows to himself that next time he'll reach the top. He wonders to himself if that was already 6 years ago. He soon reaches his destination, a labyrinth with a difficulty rating of B. He thinks to himself that in order to get past the 30th floor, a solid foundation is essential, and the key to building that foundation lies right here in this labyrinth. He grimaces, thinking to himself that he never imagined he'd have to go through this again. Though not thrilled about it, a sense of nostalgia hits him as he presses the labyrinth door handle. He pushes the double doors open, bracing himself for what lies ahead. As he enters the labyrinth, he thinks to himself that it's exactly the same as before. A butterfly lands gently on his finger, and he smiles, recognizing it as the luminous moth. But then he notices a group of people also inside with him, and wonders who they are. A young girl explains that they were looking for a place to farm, and when the labyrinth door opened, they slipped in before it closed. The scene shifts 10 minutes earlier. The group had followed him, thinking he was onto something, but one man remarks, confused, that he's heading straight into a labyrinth as soon as he arrives. He's even opened the door without a key. The girl suggests that they should go after him, curious about what he's up to. The man responds with hesitation, questioning whether they should enter without knowing what kind of labyrinth it is or how vast it might be. The girl urges them to think for a moment, reminding them that the early floors of the Tower of Trials are the most crucial ones. She adds that he opened the labyrinth without a key, and if a level 1 player can enter, it likely isn't that difficult to clear. Another girl chimes in, questioning whether that guy will just share the items he finds without a fight. With a fierce look, she responds that of course he won't share anything without a fight, so they should make the labyrinth his new forever home. Back in the present, the girl suggests that since they're all here, they might as well move as a group, reminding them that there's safety in numbers. Our boy's eyes gleam with golden light as he activates the Eye of Truth. He thinks to himself that they might be trying to take advantage of him, believing that their numbers give them the upper hand. The girl introduces herself as Park Hana, 22 years old, and mentions that she's been to the second floor of the tower before. The MC notes that this girl has a rather interesting skill called commune. It allows her to naturally befriend someone upon first meeting, and she can also erase any sense of uncertainty from others. The system sets a copy condition. He must spend at least 240 hours with Park Hana, and by the end of that time, no one else can be with her except him. He thinks to himself that acquiring this skill will definitely come in handy when dealing with a certain girl on the upcoming floors. Another man introduces himself as Jang Shalosik, mentioning that he played the first floor for a bit before giving up. Another two girls introduce themselves, Lee Hyman, who also only played the first floor, and Jang Mina, who's made it to the third floor. The remaining two men, Cheon Menguk and Du Kwangwoo, reveal that they've never played the Tower of Trials before. This is their first time. Our boy fakes a smile as he introduces himself as Kang Jinhyuk. He mutters to himself that they're obviously going to stab him in the back later, so there's no reason to bother remembering their names. The girl clings to his arm, curious, and asks how far he's made it in the Tower of Trials. She activates her skill, and our boy becomes embarrassed by how close she's gotten to him. He pushes her away, thinking to himself that this is how she uses her skill. If he hadn't known about her ability, he might have felt more friendly toward her. He responds, telling her that he reached as far as he could. She wonders what's up with this guy, thinking that commune should have already affected him, but something feels off. She asks him to share what kind of monsters are in the labyrinth or any distinct features it might have. Our boy responds, saying it's not hard at all. He turns back to inform them that this labyrinth changes shape at certain times. As soon as he says this, the floor begins to rumble like an earthquake, shaking the ground beneath them. Park Hana exclaims, confused, wondering what's going on since this labyrinth is only on the first floor. She barely manages to dodge as a wall suddenly closes in on her. One of the men warns his group, telling them that if they stay still like that, they're going to get crushed to death. After a while, the rumbling stops and the group collapses, panting and gasping for breath. They exclaim in panic, realizing they can't see their teammate Mina. One of the men mutters in disbelief, saying he can't believe this kind of labyrinth is on the first floor. Everything on the first floor was supposed to be easy, except for the ruins. Our man asks coolly if they've never experienced a shape-shifting maze before. Park Mina responds, urgent and worried, saying that this is too dangerous for a level 1 player, and they need to leave immediately. She turns to Hyman, asking if she can find the exit and whether she can use her skill to locate it. The girl, tears in her eyes, responds that her skill was deactivated when the labyrinth shifted earlier. Park Mina, her voice trembling, asks if they can't find a way out and if they're trapped inside. Our boy thinks to himself, amused, that he had been wondering why they waltzed into the labyrinth so confidently. They must have been relying on her navigation skill. It's obvious they're newbies, just the way they strolled in here like it was a trip to the neighborhood convenience store. He brushes off the others as idiots, thinking it's about time for that thing to appear. Park Mina shouts angrily at him, demanding to know why he didn't warn them that the labyrinth shifts, furious that the walls came at them without warning. She continues, her frustration rising, saying they got scraped and banged up trying to dodge the walls and that they almost died because of him. One of her teammates agrees, adding that he kept important information to himself, while another chimes in, accusing him of causing Mina's disappearance. Our boy gives them a cold look and tells them that he never asked any of them to follow him. The girl's expression shifts, cold sweat trickling down her face as she stammers in shock, unsure how to respond. Our boy's eyes flash with anger as he responds that they were the ones who decided to come in here. He didn't drag them in by force. One of the men snaps and conjures his weapon, seething at being trapped. He adds, his voice dripping with irritation, that he didn't like our boy from the moment he saw him. But before he can say more, he's instantly cut off as an axe flies by. His body hits the ground with a heavy thud, and the rest of the team recoils in shock at the sight. They start yelling in a frenzy, panicked and confused, wondering how this could have happened. Soon, a massive minotaur charges at them in a fit of frustration, its eyes burning with rage. The minotaur retrieves its massive axe, swinging it back to prepare for another brutal attack. The group is frozen in shock, their faces paling as the reality sets in. They're going to die. But our boy leaps forward, lunging with incredible speed, his body a blur as he swoops toward the beast. The minotaur strikes from above with incredible force, its axe coming down like a deadly avalanche. However, our boy has already dodged the attack, nimbly leaping onto the minotaur's back with surprising agility. He grins as the system chimes in, notifying him that he successfully evaded the attack. He smiles in satisfaction as the system notifies him that he's acquired the hidden stat Gay P, a rare and valuable ability. Alright guys, that's the end of this part. I hope you enjoy the recap. Things are getting really interesting, right? If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out. We'll be dropping the next part tomorrow, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.